Hello, das ist Miss Jäger, and welcome to patch 8.4. And we have a two-part episode. The first part, we will be looking at the British tech tree and its updated status. And then in the second part, we will look at a new updated Deutschland tech tree and have a little glance at the Russian new tank destroyers. Now, of course, I might not be able to get the tank destroyers, but fingers crossed, something along the lines will happen, but who knows. So, without further ado, this is the new tank destroyer tech tree for Britain. This is the Universal Carrier 2-pounder. For those of you who have never heard of this vehicle before, the Universal Carrier, I'll actually go to the research and do the vehicle details. Universal Carrier was developed during the interwar period and was one of the main armoured tracked vehicle used by the British Commonwealth Forces. Through 37 to 45, 90,000 were made. The most common version of this is called the Bren Carrier. Now the Bren Carrier is, as you can see, there's a little notch where the top of the fingers are here. That's where the Bren would be, and in the back there would normally be about 3 to 4 guys, and what would be in them also is that this thing would be towing something. It was quite as they say, it was a universal carrier. There you go, 2-pounder. So it was basically an all-terrain helpful vehicle for the British Army. Kind of, bugger all in weapons and armor, because unless you got a 2-pounder on top, but that would be about it. But for a tank destroyer, I actually like it. Now, normally I'd be aggressive. This is only a tier 2 tank. This is only a tier 2 tank, but I like it. I really like it. It's a quaint design. I mean, yes, you're not going to be tiered very high in a tier 2 match because your armor is so paper thin, but at the same time, it's quite nice. It's very pleasant. So let's have a look at the stats, shall we? 120 hit points, no different to the Panzerjagd. So that one has 120 hit points as well. So that's just roughly how it goes. So that's not too bad. You can't upgrade the turret, so there's no adding health to it. Engine power is 100, and you do start with 85. So, bearing in mind, this is the first. If we go back to the British tech tree, this is the first thing you'll find. So most of these things will be accessible to you for the long run. So just bear with us on that one. Also, you have wrong one. Also, its speed limit, however, is really good, very good. Quite surprising for a tier 2 tank to be able to reach that kind of speed limit. But its top speed is good, but its acceleration it will take a few seconds longer to get to that kind of speed than it would, say, a Crusader or a Cromwell would. Obviously, the Crusader has an advantage of 410 horsepower, whereas we only have 100. So it's the design of the tank. It can get up to those speeds, but often it's not likely you'll get there fast. We'll get there fast enough, in a sense. The traverse speed is quite good as well. Obviously, depending on what tracks you've got and what engine you've got, it definitely does the job rather well. I mean, it's not perfect. I'll just let you know now, this is a tier 2 vehicle, so although it's got potential, it's not perfect. That's the whole point about the British tech tree, is it shows you the potential of what it could be. So there you go on that one. The shell, actually no, we'll go down a list. So the armor is horrible. It is very bad. If we go to a Panzerjagd, we get the benefits of better hull armor all around. Obviously there are tanks out there who might have worse. I'm thinking the T-18 has... Nope, the Americans have the best armor of the group. What about the Russians? Do they have better armor? Yes, the Russians have better armor. The French, do the French have better armor? Yes, even the French have better armor. I won't count the Chinese because the Chinese don't have any tank destroyers as of yet. But yeah, so the British tank destroyer does suffer a very, very poor, in the first one at least, suffers very poorly in armor. So more often than not, a burst of flak like a burst of a 20 Mike will rip you asunder and probably kill you. So good thing is to stay away from the melee of the fight. So this is where that's the kind of disadvantage of this tank, is that you can't get out of a shitty situation as fast as, say, a Stug could, because a Stug could easily get away from. If it got surrounded, I could back out, I could drive away, and I could escape, whereas the Universal Pounder would be dead. So, and don't forget, we're dealing with tier 2 tanks, so most of them will have 20 Mikes. So, armor-wise, this thing will be easy to destroy. So let's now look at the view range before we talk about the gun. The view range for this thing is very good. I'm quite surprised at this tank. I mean, if we go towards looking at Deutschland, we've got the same view range there. We go to the Russians, and the Russians haven't got as good view range. That's quite surprising. And the Americans, what do they have? They have very poor view range. So Germany and Deutschland. Oh, okay, actually, let's go look at France. Let's be fair. Let's be fair. Oh yeah, so France does it, but France has a very poor signal range. So so Germany and Britain have the best armored for vision and the best for vision for France is included, but yeah, it's pretty impressive, to be honest. That's a tier 2 tank with that as well. You get a tier you get a tier. Okay, so let's see. So you get up to 250. Sorry, my bad. You get 250 at milligram, but then you upgrade it to 375. So very good, regardless. So good potential, very good potential. It's perfect on that one. You do start out with that one, a 2-pounder AT Mark 9, if I'm not mistaken. But you can get up to a 6-pounder, which is a tier 4 gun. Now think about it, a tier 4 gun in a tier 2 match, you're on fire. But it isn't perfect. First of all, it's 57mm, so undoubtedly everything you will find, you're undoubtedly likely to penetrate. You've got 57. I mean, most of the tanks you find in that game are likely to be penetrated. So you'll probably end up, when you get this gun, being put into tier 3 matches, and if you're very unlucky, tier 4. It does 57 damage and 57 penetration and 70 damage. If you've got premium, 72, same damage. If you have HE cells, lesser penetration, more damage, so it's not too bad. Aiming time is very good. One of the main drawbacks to this gun, that horrible accuracy. Now I've upgraded my crew a bit, so they are 77%. However, it isn't, despite that, you will find difficulty in accuracy with this thing. Even if you put it to 100%, you will find that there is still quite a bit of problems with accuracy with this thing. So like I said though, it's a tier 2 tank. Thinking about it, most vehicles will suffer the same kind of problem as you do. So theoretically speaking, this is a very good tank destroyer. Its main weakness is its very thin armor, but its main strength is its gun. And I like that. I don't mind thin armor, but massive gun. I'd rather have that than a lot of armor for a very poor gun. I mean, that's my own personal preference. You guys can have your own opinion on these things, but that's how I'd like it. I like this tank. I'm gonna actually keep this thing because it's it's a tier 2. It's an adorable little thing, and it does the job very well. So yeah, pretty much. I like it. It's quite a pleasant little thing. Now, let us go on to looking at the other tech tree. Now, I have unlocked the Valentine, and I might get it so I can progress up this tech tree. So, the Valentine, let's have a look at your stats. It is 170 health. So that's the full health of the vehicle. It's got much better armor now, 60 on all sides, so that's very good. The guns you can get, you start off with the 6-pounder that you get from that one, but you can then also get an upgraded version of that, which has a much better potential for penetration and better damage as well. Only 5% damage more, but thinking about it, it's still quite a good weapon. And you also get the ability to have a howitzer, and okay, so yeah, more likely than not, people will be using this than they will with that. So, unfortunately, I imagine this will have a lot of derp gun moments, which is a shame because this is a nice tank. You can actually, if you've here's a cool thing. If you go unlock if you're unlocking the Valentine, you can actually unlock the engine for the Valentine too. So you can actually get 165 engine horsepower. So this thing is, how many tons are you? You're about 15 tons, so 165. That's about, that's a reasonable speed. I reckon you could get up to a decent speed with that. Very much so. Obviously, you'll have to get some spare tracks, of course. Wouldn't imagine anything otherwise. And that will also increase your traversity to 38, whereas at the moment you are at 34. So that's 4 degrees more. That will definitely help a lot. And after that, after you get to tier 4, you'll have such a thing called as an Alecto. Now, this is a tank destroyer that was developed as a project, but it was cancelled when World War II ended. So it never saw service. And you get your 6-pounder Mark II already, but you'll also get the gun that you get if you've unlocked it with the 80 with a Valentine. And if you got the howitzer as well from the Valentine as well, so there's another one for you. Then it finally goes to this. Now, okay, you can actually have a 25-pound HE, and I'm quite surprised about this. When I first looked at this, I was like, what? A 25-pound on a Tetrarch chassis? Because for those of you who don't know, the Tetrarch was a very tiny tank. It was designed as a scout tank, which you could use in a glider. Now, a tank that, I mean, if you look at the tonnage, 8 tons, that's not much. That's a very tiny tank destroyer. So it may yet to be proven advantage that it might be like a bit like the it may yet to be proving like the AMX, the French AMX scout tank. You actually may find that that actually comes out better off. I mean, that's quite surprising, to be honest. And of course, thanks to unlocking the multiple radios, look at that. In the last video, if you've watched it on GDTV, I say that when I was talking about the Stug, so you'll probably watch the video of the Stug before you'll see this version, that if you unlock a radio, you can get this. So I've got a tier 7 radio already. Now, do we get it at the Valentine? We get it at the Valentine. So if you're unlocking it from the Valentine, even if, yeah, okay, so number 9, okay, and when you get number 9, yeah, so you can get to 19 Mark II already by tier 3. So I highly recommend you get that. Just throw it out there and get it, because it's fantastic otherwise. So once you've gone through all of that, because don't forget chassis and gun, and you've got a lot of stuff to go for, because you've got the abilities to get a decent penetrating gun. To be honest, I think I'm going to go more for that than I will for that. Yes, I will have better damage, but I will have a better penetration. So 6-pounder versus that, I think I'll take that, because I don't like using derp guns. I find it's a bit like, it's kind of pointless using a gun that kills. I know you want a gun that can kill in one shot, and it's nice, don't get me wrong, but I think it's a little bit, I personally don't like it, really. It takes too long to aim, whereas this, you've got a very good aiming time, and you've got a very accurate gun. You can spout 26 rounds a minute, whereas you can only spout roughly 10. So you're 16 seconds less than the other one. So I think, to be honest, a 6-pounder for me, though I imagine there will probably be a lot of people using the 25-pounder, so that ain't good. Anyway, we're now on the tank destroyers. Now this is where the British kind of get a bit more armoured up, because, let's have a look at the vehicle details, 203. Holy shit, that's a lot of armour. And 101 on the sides and rear. That's better than my Tiger. If we can just go to the Deutschland tech tree. Tiger, frontal armour, tier 7 by the way, 100. The smelly arse of an AT2 has better armour, is better covered than my Tiger's frontal armour. That's crazy. So this definitely will be a massive target for artillery, because It's only got 20 miles per hour speed limit. I mean, yes, you've got an engine which gives it 395 horsepower, but it only gives it about 50% more, 50 horsepower more. Now, this may mean the difference between life and death. Don't forget also, you're going to be giving it a better load limit and traverse speed, but it's not likely that you'll be going anywhere fast in this thing. It's 41 tons worth of vehicle, and its gun, it's the same gun, I think. No, it's not. It's not. My bad. Fair enough. So you will be able to unlock this thing, and you have to grind through it. But once you've got it, you've got a decent gun. That's pretty darn good. And also, don't forget, you get the gun for all these vehicles, so you don't have to worry about unlocking it when you get to the tier 8. Because if I'm not mistaken, yeah. So when you get to the, yeah. So once you get past the tier 5, which is kind of a bit similar to the Crusader, in fact, because once you get the Crusader, you get the ability to unlock a 6-pounder gun. And although, yes, you can have a lot of fun with it, it doesn't really have the power behind it. And then when you start getting to tier 6, that's when you start getting the better guns. So that makes sense. So once you get through that, past that, radio, once again, that's pretty good. You get the howitzer, so pretty much on that good one. Now you get into the good leagues. Now, you lose the turret, but you gain a better... You still have the 203 frontal armor. I think you're a little lighter than the AT2. Oh no, you're a little heavier. Just a tad heavier. So, it's getting... You're getting bigger and bigger and bigger. You're getting better and better and better. You're getting a decent gun as well. Now, bearing in mind, most of these, if you're noting the guns that I'm talking about, most of these will only apply to the AT tanks. So for those of you thinking, oh, I've only gone up the Crusaders line, and I'll just go up this line because then I can get to the 87, you know, I'll still have a decent tank and get up to the 80. I won't have to go through the shitty 2 to tier 3. You will still have to grind a lot to get to the 87. Whereas if you had the 88 at tier 6, which is what I'm on at, if you want to get to the 87, which is over here, most of this you'll be able to unlock from the... For that, you'll have to be able to unlock in this. So I think, despite what many people might believe, I think I will go for this tank. I'll go through this tech tree line. So yeah, so now that you're at the... so once we've done that, you've got all the 17-pounder AT Mark 6. You've got much better penetration, high rate of fire, better damage and better penetration. Now you're on the big leagues. So now you're at tier 7. This is the big leagues now. You're at the Tiger level. Once again, same armor at the front. Then you finally get the ability to get the better radio, but already, if you've already gone through half of this stuff, you will find a tier 8 radio is already there. So all that. So to be honest, I might be able to research that when I get the Comet. So, booyah. Handy that. So then you got the... So if, like I said, if you came from the Churchill GC, you'll have all these lovely guns, and then you've got a 6-pounder. Now think about it. A tier 7 6-pounder gun. Yes, you can spit rounds out at 27 rounds a minute, but do you really want a massive hulking beast like this, which will undoubtedly... I mean, thinking about it, you're a tier 7... where are we now? Yes, you're a tier 7 tank destroyer. You will be going up against the likes of the Tiger. You'll be going up against the likes of the T-29. Where is it? Yep, there's the T-20... there you go, T-29, T-25AT, T-25-2, T-71, M40, M43. You will be going up against the wrath of Mother Russia with her IS-3s, ISs, and the KV-3s, T-43s. And that's if you're in a Tier 7 match. Undoubtedly, you'll be facing up against IS-3s, KV-4s, Su-101s, KV-5s, ISU-152s. The list can go on. Like, if you go up to here, you will have 152. All this stuff will be absolutely... You will find that with your tank tech tree, being in a tank which only has a gun that you get at a Crusader, 2 tiers below you, no. Just no. go through. I know it's boring, but go through this tech tree line. You will unlock so much stuff and get so much better. You will learn how the British heavies go as well, because by the time you hit tier 7, you'll know what kind of tactics you want to have with it. And especially if you've been grinding through the tier 6 tanks, you'll undoubtedly know what to do by tier 7. So, once you've grinded through that, you get a better engine, only compatible for the anti-tank guns. And I think, yeah, that radio's there. You get better tracks. Obviously, get tracks before guns, because otherwise you won't be able to mount anything. Then once you've unlocked most of these things, so that's from the 88. You've also got that one as well. That's the 88 as well. So you've got another decent gun, which is why at the back you want to research all the guns for your tank. So that way when you get to these ones, you'll have these, you'll be able to save yourself all the grinding of going through these guns. Because think about it, a 6-pounder to get to 14,000. Oh my god, I'd rather kill myself. So it's not looking good if you have those two guns, you're safe. Then you can get the 20-pounder, which has much better penetration, much better damage, and is compatible for AT-15. So hopefully if you haven't gone through the gun carrier route, you'll have learnt your lesson, and if you've gone through the gun carrier route, you will have learnt your lesson, and you will have gone, and next time, if you ever have a chance, go through the AT line, because then you can have much better stuff. Well, you kind of feel a bit begrudging, but let's face it, I'd rather go through slow, heavy vehicles than to get an experimental death trap. So now you go to the tier 8s. Now the things get interesting. You've got a much more similar line to the turtle tank. I know people say tortoise, but I'm going to call it the turtle tank because it's, you know, they're the same kind of creature. I know there's going to be some like environmental nerd saying, no they're not, they're totally different. Does it really matter, I will say. You'll go to a tier 8 vehicle. Now I haven't actually reached tier 8, so there's probably a good chance that, I mean, I'll probably have this by that point, and maybe a tier 10 radio, but I doubt I'll be at the Centurion line. I mean, who knows, maybe I might be, if I can ever get to a decent British tank. No offense, Cromwell, but you can't slug it out yet. I want to be at the Centurion to Centurion 7-1. But anyway, so the AT-15 is where really things get good for you. You get, as I said, having unlocked the thing, oh, that's impressive. So you do get that one. Okay, in fairness, you do get that one at the gun carrier. So in fairness, I've just learnt that. So fair enough, you will get a decent gun from the Churchill gun carrier. However, you will still have to go through the 6-pounder of the 87 before you can get up to this one. So my best recommendation is just go through that. Just go through that line because it will save you so much stress. If you want to get the Churchill GC beforehand, because if you get the 87, it'll only cost you roughly, I think once you get up here, it'll cost you a lower percentage. It's a bit like, say for example, if you go to Germany, because it's the only tech tree I know, if you get the Tiger after the VK, and once you get when you get to the VK302TB, it only costs you 20,000 research points to get to the Panther because you're on top of the Panther. Whereas if you were in the VK301H, it would cost you like a lot more experience, like 45,000, 50,000, that kind of thing. So that's kind of how it goes. Where are we now? So yes, we're at that one. So then you can unlock things like this. So, and I would highly recommend it because look at that, fantastic. And oh my god, I've just seen the accuracy. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? That is the best accuracy I've seen for a gun in this entire game. And the aiming time is apparently varied, but thinking about it, you've got 100% crew, you've got probably ventilation and a gun rammer to allow for better reload time. Maybe, just maybe, you'll have, I can't remember the exact name of it right now, let me just try and find it for you. An enhanced gun laying drive, so that means your gun, you could piss through ammunition relatively easy, and you could piss on the right kind of targets. That is fantastic. This gun probably is the gun that you're wanting to have for a long while yet. And in fact, if I ever get to this tank, I'm keeping this tank for the sole reason of that gun. You see that some people say the British. I've heard people say that the British tanks aren't that good because of they're either too slow and they don't have a good gun, or they're too fast and have really shit armor. I dare them to come back now and say that we have shit guns. I freaking dare them. That's fantastic. So now we go on to the turtle tank. This is the actual tank that I have heard of beforehand. I actually saw it on Men of War, so it did exist, and it was developed. But one thing I will actually note for you guys, none of these tanks ever saw service. I mean, what was this one? This was a yeah. So this is one. Most of these vehicles would never actually saw combat in the Second World War. Maybe the Universal Pounder and the Valentine. You know, it was an experimental. Maybe these two saw services, but none after Tier 3. Nothing ever saw service. So these are all concept designs. I mean, that was built, but it was in 1947. So it was prepared, and they were ready for it, but it never saw service. So it's a shame, because I reckon this would have devastated German tanks. Because think about it, you've got a 32-pounder gun now, and it is compatible. Oh, so you can, yeah. So yeah, you got the 32-pounder gun. If you've used the Churchill gun carrier, so if you wanted to grab the Churchill gun carrier for that, fair enough. But you've also, don't forget, got that gun. You got the gun from the AT-15 already, and once again, it pays to go through the grid. It pays to get the thing beforehand, because then, once you have that, you won't have to spend a culmination of, oh god, 105,000 experience before you can get to that gun. So if you don't have that, you've only got 60,000 experience to get. And that one is 120, and it does a crap ton of damage. I mean, look at that. Penetration-wise, it's fantastic. And it's even better on the premium shot, so stock up on premium shells, but note, it will probably be very expensive credit-wise and gold-wise. Then, of course, once you've got the decent radio from whatever vehicle you're in this line, and then finally, you've got this. So, if you've got a Centurion Mark 1, you'll have the best 750 signal range, which is rather funny, because that's the Tier 9 radio, if I'm not mistaken, for Germany. Let's go to Panzerhaubitze A. With it's a Fug 12. No, it's Panzer 3, wasn't it? Yeah, so so Tier 9 radio. Oh no, fair enough. Probably Tier 10 is 750, so fair enough. You get a tier. Well, it makes sense. A Tier 10 radio at Tier 9. You know, you're not likely to go any further than 750 meters, so it's fair enough. You will also have, if you've gone down the heavy tank route, you will have an 810 horsepower engine. Obviously, don't forget tracks first. I mean, this thing isn't going to be fast though. Look at, I mean, in all honesty, 2,000 hit points, 650 engine power, but 20 is going to be your fastest one. I mean, even still, maybe you might go a little faster, but the engine you've got at the moment, I mean, I don't know, fair enough. You might actually go a little bit faster, because that one has, you got a Tier 5 engine going to a Tier 9. So I suppose what would be a better idea is if you've got the Carnarvon or the Conqueror, if you've got that, get it. If not, then you're going to have to wait 20, you're going to have a very slow tank. But thinking about it, if you've got a 20-pounder gun, doesn't really matter, does it? It can take you a while to get to this area, but once you've got here, you will be in a great place. Obviously, the tracks will be this will be a difficult one for sure. But once you've got there, should be great. Now, here's the bit where things get very, very derpish. This is the last tank in the tech tree, Tier 10. You don't need to upgrade anything. Why would you? Because this gun, it's got 183 millimeters. Very slow rate of fire. Very good penetration. Apparently it's even worse when it comes to that, but holy crap. 101 that, right, for standard shells. That for premium. Thinking about it, yes, you have less penetration on a premium tank, but if you're a tier 9, a tier 10 tank, and you shoot the side of a tier 9, it's what, 1,750, right? So, what's the health on this tank? Gone. What's the health on this tank? Gone. One-shotted. What's the health on the E75? That will have just only barely survived, because don't forget, you will have got a better turret for it, so you would have got a better health for it, so that will improve the healthing. And sorry, the parrot to the background. So that will have barely survived. If you go to a more common Russian tank, sorry about that, guys. You'll have a Russian tank. What's the health on this thing if it hasn't got an upgrade? That'll be dead. That's a tier 8. Let's go up to tier 9. Just be fair. Let's get a tier 9 IS-8 tank. That will be dead. I mean, if you're lucky, you'll have got a better turret, and you may have added a bit more health to it, but it will have barely survived a one-shot from that. Even an IS-7. Let's have a look at the health of that thing. That will have taken a good 3/4 of its health. Its 3/4 of its health will have gone. Most of that, I mean, this will have gone. Oh no, it wouldn't have gone, but if you're unlucky, you could hit an ammunition. I mean, all these little things will just highlight how devastating this cannon will be. It's absolutely terrifying. And holy crap, I just once again saw its accuracy. Oh my god. Are they kidding? I mean, I saw a video preview on I saw a Mighty Jingles video. I'm not sure if I'm allowed to say that, but I said I saw a video on this. He was previewing it. And I thought they would have changed it because of that. Apparently not. Oh, it takes a long time to aim, though. That's a saving grace. So if you're a camper, you're fine. Holy crap, that's a big gun. Oh my god, that I like. I'm terrified. If I ever see that thing, I will shit myself, because that will be the thing I'll have to go for. Let's look at the details of the armor. Okay, so the armor does suffer. There is a disadvantage to this tank. It's got very poor armor to the front. Thinking about it, you're a tier 10 tank, so very, very poor armor on the sides, but better in the rear. Okay, that doesn't make too much sense, but whatever. The frontal turret, of course, is going to be very good. Its side isn't going to be too good. It's bad on the rear armor. So there is disadvantages. You can kill this thing if you want to, but it's got 2,000 hit points. And if you shoot at it and it doesn't entirely kill it, you're likely to die. It's got a very good view range. Actually, I don't know. 400 view range. Let me just look. I've been spamming through all the stuff you need to research, and I've completely forgotten to look at the technical side of this thing, but let us have a look. Jagdpanzer E100. Yeah, so 400 view range, quite big, quite nasty. But yes, that's quite a powerful thing. 200. So yeah, that's generally what happens. This thing will piss through tanks. It will kill them very quickly. Turret diversity is absolutely abysmal. So generally you want to point the front of your tank against this thing, because bearing in mind it's got the best frontal armor and the best, well, okay, it's not got the best frontal armor, but it will have the best turret armor. So obviously this is a hull down tank design. I'm half tempted to call this the Scorpion from Halo, because it just, the Scorpion from Halo has this big goodbye you're dead gun, and it's absolutely devastating to most vehicles. So I'm going to call this the Scorpion rather than the FV215B. I'm just going to call this the Scorpion tank now, because it just stings like a bitch. Traverse speed is quite good. Engine power is very good. Don't forget you can't upgrade the tank, so this is what you've got. It's reasonably fast. I reckon it's, seeming as it's 64 tons, you will probably get there reasonably quickish. Probably the acceleration issue will be there. So, pretty evil tank. Never saw service though, so Maybe if we had this, we could have reconquered the world. Because let's face it, most vehicles that would be against us wouldn't have been able to survive against this damn thing. Jesus Christ. Okay, so because we didn't look too much at the stats of the tank, to be honest, after the turtle tank, you got 220. So let's look at the stats. 2,000 hit points, same as the last one. Engine power, not too bad, but once you've upgraded it, you'll have 810. Speed limit, you're still going 20 miles an hour. But this is interesting. The side armor is as good as the frontal armor of that. So, in a sense, despite this being a tier 9 tank, this is probably shaping up to be the best one of the lot. Because you've got a variety of weapons. You've got a tier 10 gun. Yes, it's not as powerful as that one, but at least in battle, you will survive better than that one. So in a sense, this may be yet to become my favourite tank. I'm still going to have the AT-15 though. Rate of fire, 12 rounds a minute, but I'm sure there'll be a way to make it go up to maybe 13 to 14. View range just short of that one. Signal range just short of that one, but don't forget you can upgrade your radio, so by the time you reach this point, you'll have undoubtedly unlocked the tier 10 radio from that point. So, if you've done your research, pardon the pun, you will have got most of this stuff sorted. So literally, once you get this tank, it's almost as quick as just put it on, put it on, put it on, put it on. If you can put that on, great. And then, or put it, as I said, put that on if you have researched it. Yeah, so put that on first, put that on second, put that on third. Because that one's a decent radio, and you don't often bump out of the way. And if you have room for that one, then fantastic. But just put that on first, that one on second, and then that one on third if you have the ability to do so. Oh, no, you can't. How heavy is that? That's one, and how much is that? Ah, so theoretically speaking, that's lighter than that. That's kind of cool, because that's a 20-pounder. That has more power behind it, I think, but it's less accurate. Oh, well, either way, you'll find it a little lighter, and then you can put something on here before you have to worry about grinding through that. But obviously, as I say, get the gun if you can, grind through the turtle treads, so you get a tier 9 tread, so that adds extra load limit. It'll also increase your traverse speed, so that's pretty good. Obviously, radio, and then after that you can spend however long it will be getting this gun, because I reckon this will be the gun that will win most battles for you. And L1A1, the best things always are the shortest names. It's fantastic. So, back to the AT-15, look at the stats. Not so much health, not so much weight, better frontal armor. Is it as good as the turtle tank? Yes, it is. So when you get the AT-15, you've got a baby turtle. So all that similar as well. Traverse speed, not as good as the turtle. But obviously, once you get the AT tracks, you will be able to go up to the turtle's strength. You will also be able to increase your load limit. So once again, if you have a brain, you'll no doubt have unlocked a few of these things. Do it adequately. Make sure you've got all that sort of stuff sorted out. Engine power as well, you'll have upgraded thanks to whatever you've done to get to this level. Oh yeah, of course. So now this is the thing we've got to be careful at. Research the engine, because otherwise you will... I don't know whether you will have it automatically or whether it will have to be something to be researched. But in a sense, it would be good to have a reasonably fast vehicle. So that's that one on that one. Tier 7, 87 gun, 203, that kind of follows on from the other previous 3 tiers, so you know what to do. So by this point, you'll have gotten used to the fact of your heavy frontal armor and your not so bad side armor. Of course, in a tier 7 tank, you will undoubtedly bump into tier 8s and perhaps a tier 9 if you're unlucky enough, so the best idea is just to have is to ignore the old saying of angling and just maybe angle your tank, but in all honesty, I think 203 frontal armor, I'm going to say this, and if it's wrong, feel free to shoot me, but with 203 frontal armor, I don't really think you'll need to angle your tank much. Maybe shake it about so people can't see your weak points, but not have to angle it, because bearing in mind you haven't got a turret, so you don't have the abilities to sneak around a corner. You won't be able to go to a hull down position because you don't have probably the height in most cases. You might do, but the guns being on the side may think it difficult. So suppose you could show a bit of your tank and hide behind a building, but that's the best kind of tactics I would use. So you could do what I've done with my Hetzer tank. But apart from that, I wouldn't say otherwise. So back to the 88, same steel, that armor. Sorry, I forgot to about the engine. Obviously, engine power. Upgrade the engine, upgrade the gun if you can. So, like I said in the previous ones, it's the same message really. 88, the same message. Look at your weight distribution. Make sure you get the decent gun on top, and then try and mount the 88. So that way you don't have to worry about engine problems. I mean, think about it. 5,000 experience. By this point, you could deal a fair amount of damage to most vehicles if you've unlocked any decent guns. I mean, this might be the first one. Yeah, so once you've unlocked that, okay, you'll have to deal with a few, tier 7. You'll have to deal with a fair amount of poor things, but I reckon a 6-pounder can do damage. You can do damage, and at tier 7, you may be the top tier tank at some battles. So once you get that, penetrate a few vehicles, you should get that track sorted. Same for this one, same deal, pretty much all that. So that is the British tech tree for you. Obviously for these ones, you just got to rely on perhaps a bit more speed and a little more tact. But once you start getting to the lines of the 82, 87, 8015, you can then start relying on your armor a lot more, and maybe not act like a smeghead and go out there and go, oh, I've got all this armor, I'm going to do really well, blank, 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 because there's going to be artillery hunting for your ass. Don't forget, in most matches, there will probably be a gun which will be able to destroy you, and if I'm not mistaken, the top half of a tank will be the least protected. So even if you're in a turtle tank, blowing shit up, having a great time, there is an SU-8 or an SU, because I normally bump into these tanks at higher tier, SU-14, Object 212 or Object 261, it will blow your tank up. If you go with, if there's an American one, you got a T92. There is going to be artillery that will hunt you down. You are a slow-moving target, you are an ideal target, and you may be yet an easy kill. So all that said, be careful with your tank. So don't be stupid. I'm assuming most of you who watch these videos, and if you are watching, thank you, will have a brain and know what to do. So yeah. Hopefully you won't get corrupted by the amount of power that this thing will possess, because it's like the One Ring in Lord of the Rings. I have a suspicious feeling that the turtle tank will be a bitch, and the British Tank Destroyer Tech Tree line will destroy a lot of tanks. It may even beat some of the Russian Tech Tree tank destroyers, because at the moment, well, before this patch, I was afraid of the 152s, the 10704s, the S2254s, the S2244s, and the Object 263 and the Object 268. Now these things may still have a lot of penetration, but if you look at a tier 10 Russian tank destroyer, it's only got 600 to 1,000, whereas this other tank destroyer at tier 10 will absolutely bugger shit up. I mean, look at that. Maybe its penetration will suffer and it may not be able to fire as much, but if you penetrate something with this thing, it's not likely to be able to put up too much of a fight. So, yeah, the British finally can be feared once again, and I like the sound of that, being British myself. So, this is the British tech tree, and I think I've been rambling on now for a good half an hour, so this is the first part gone. I was hoping to try and put in the replays of my first 2 battles with this thing, but I'm thinking because we don't have to talk about as much in the next video, I will put the actual combat videos in there. I hope that you've enjoyed this video of not much action but a lot of talking, and if you found it very informative, please let me know in the comment sections. If you find that I may have missed a few bit too much stuff or like that, I've not really done much of this looking at the tanks from it, but now I'm actually quite enjoying this, so I might try and do it a bit more in future. So if you guys liked it, please let me know. Feedback is always appreciated. Subscriptions and likes are always appreciated. I will do what I can to provide as much of an entertaining value and also a informative one. So these 2 things are the most important to me. So if either of them aren't so great, let me know, and I will do what I can to work around them. Please no trolling, because all it will do is it will not tell me anything, and it will not help at all. So please, if you have a valid reason or a reason that is decent enough, let me know, okay? And I will try and work around it as best as I can. So, with that said, thank you ever so much for watching, and I will see you in the second part of patch 8.4. Cheers, guys. Crap Hunter, signing